Hi, I'm Randy Dace. Welcome to Coach's Corner. My guests today are Keith Mills, WMAR-TV sports anchor for Channel 2, and Mr. Eric Rue, a sports general manager from Towson High School. Gentlemen, welcome to the high school sports scene.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Keith, it's great to have you back. You've been a friend of high school sports scene for many years, and you've been a friend of high school sports in Baltimore for the last 20 years. How'd you bring high school sports to the major networks?
It's easy, Randy. It sells itself. I mean, so many positive things going on in high school sports, not just in the Baltimore County area, but everywhere. I think it's real important this day and age that you show and flaunt the good things that are going on in the school systems. Student athletes, as you and I like to call them, are doing good things, and I think that needs to be done. Following the lead of Vince Bagley and someone like that wasn't hard at all, to tell you the truth.
Now, Keith, usually our format is we have the coach and we have the player.
Right,
but
right.
Today's a little bit different because we have Eric, who has been a manager and statistician and general manager of Towson High School Athletics for the last 4 years. But right now, Eric, he's your coach, isn't he?
Yeah,
You want to explain that situation?
He's one of my bosses, in fact. I work with the TV 2 crew as a statistician for the college lacrosse broadcast, which we've started, and we're wrapping up with 2 more broadcasts here coming up, and then we end the 14-game schedule. So working with Keith Mills and the rest of the bosses, I call them, it's nice to meet them and work with them and to be able to learn from them.
Now, Keith, you first ran to Eric probably a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Can you describe that situation?
Well, I actually first met him at the Towson football homecoming a couple of years ago, but my first real dealing with him, and I'm laughing because we all joke now at Channel 2 that we work for him. He's going to run the station in a couple of years, and there's no doubt in my mind he will. I walk in the production truck before our first game, Hopkins, Princeton, and I hear this. I see this guy sitting in a bank of keyboards, and I hear this, "Millsy, how you doing?" Who is this guy? And he was just, he didn't miss a beat. Now, here's what we're going to do today. We got this stat for you, and we're going to look at the extra man and all this, that, and that. I'm like, whoa, who is this guy? And what are you doing here? But he's been a great asset, really. Wonderful, the energy and the passion that he shows for his job and the game, as you well know, working with him so many years. It's been great.
I think you had a key point. You said energy and passion. I first met Eric 4 years ago as my soccer manager, and I was sort of getting old and tired, but he brought enthusiasm and spirit back to me, and I think back to Towson High School, where we had a sort of a slow period, and he's Mr. Towson. And Eric, tell us a little about your role with Keith and Scott Garceau and the TV2 lacrosse.
Basically, I'm responsible for talking to a person from the home school on a headset. I'm in the production truck. They're out on the field with the official score. And my job is basically to have statistics from them, give them to what they call a Chiron operator. He puts them into the Chiron. I tell the producer, okay, we have this ready to go, and then he'll mat it onto the screen, and whether they choose to read it off or just have it there for the fans to see, it's their choice. Some of them, some of the key stats they'll read off. Some of them they'll just, leave up there for a couple seconds, and then it'll disappear. But that's basically my job, to give the fans and the audience at home the information they need.
I remember the first couple games you did. One time, I don't know if it was you or Scott, questioned the stats of the shots, and I was like, no, Eric Rue's doing the stats. I don't think they know him, but it's probably perfect.
That's a running joke with us. Scott's big line that we call him Junior. Scott's big line at Junior is, Junior, what's the toughest thing about stats? Which is?
Getting them right.
Getting them right. But he's usually right. There might be a discrepancy, but usually it's not his fault. Like he said, he's the messenger, but he's in charge of what stats we do put on. That's a very big part of the job, as you guys know.
Keith, you've been in the business for about 20 years, and here's Eric. He's a high school senior. Did you ever have such an opportunity as Eric right now?
Absolutely not, but I give him credit, Randy. He is making the most of it. And I really give him credit for everything that he's done, not just with us, but with you guys at Towson. And next year, I know he's going to be doing this at Towson State. We did a piece on him a couple of weeks ago, and you guys were a part of this and what he's done for you. But I was really impressed with the fact that, everybody can't be the great athlete, and they can't be the All-American or whatever, or even play sports in college or high school. Doesn't mean you can't really enjoy the experience of high school sports. and Eric has been proof of that. And hopefully, maybe some other younger male or females will follow his lead and say, I can be involved in it in a positive way.
And I think it's important. He found his niche.
Absolutely.
And Eric has gained respect from the fellow athletes, student athletes, the students in the building, and the faculty members by, really being the super general in the building. Keith, in terms of your occupation, it's a very competitive occupation.
Mm-hmm.
I know Eric might be, looking your way, et cetera. What would you give advice to somebody out there who would love to get involved in the media, but they don't know which direction to take?
At this level, at the high school level, I think you have to do what he's doing. If for some reason you don't make the school team, or you're not playing a lot and you're frustrated, get involved with something that's sports related, whether it's managing the team, public address announcing, trying to do something, staying in the game itself. If you're interested in the broadcast situation, learn how to write. Take as many writing classes as you can in high school and college. But basically, you want to network yourself, whether it be you as a coach or to a sports information director at a local college, or someone like myself or Scott Garceau or Rick White or Keith Nelson who run our production. Make sure that you're there when they want you or when they need you. And when they need you, go for it. And he's done just that. I give him a lot of credit.
Now, Eric, you've had a chance to be the co-host here of High School Sports Team last year, and you're working with the show this year. But now you've been with the real professionals.
Yeah, right.
What have you learned from the real professionals?
I've learned that a couple hours before, when we're setting up and the talent shows up, they show up a little later than we do. It's all fun and games and we're relaxed. But when 1 o'clock comes around or face-off time comes around, it's time to get serious. It's time to really clamp down and really do our jobs. Learned a lot about the production aspect of it. Usually we have, here at High School Sports Team, we do a little bit. We don't have that much equipment, but when you go out to, say, Navy or Loyola or Hopkins, you see this big, huge production truck show up, all these cameras, all these cables, and you sit there and you think to yourself, jeez, now I know why they show up 4 or 5 hours before game time to get everything set up. So it's a lot different from here to Channel 2.
So, Keith, just like the athletes and the referees or the umpires, how do you set your game face for each game?
Well, he hit the nail on the head. The preparation happens long before the first face-off.
You get butterflies before a game?
Not anymore. Anxious. It's like nervous energy. It's like when you're coaching and your players are playing. It's like when I used to play. You can't wait for it to happen. You feel a little anxious and maybe a little nervous energy, but you want to get your feet wet early and get on with it. I spend a lot of my time during the week of a game of going over every player and making anal notes for myself about what I'm going to say if that situation arises. He does the same in his preparation. Our production guys all do the same. Our photographers, our cameramen, have spent a lot of time watching the games themselves, trying to get better. So our guys take a tremendous amount of pride in what we do, but it all comes down to preparation.
Keith, you got the job that we'd all love to have. Get paid to watch sports and talk to all the superstars. But let's go back in your career. Is there that one event that you'll always treasure that you've covered?
Yeah, it's the last game at Orioles game at Memorial Stadium. I think we talked about that before.
Tearjerker.
Oh, it was so spontaneous. There was no script. No one knew what was going to happen. The players themselves were visibly touched by what was going on. The fans were absolutely emotional. Scott Garceau and I were fortunate enough to be able to be in the broadcast booth when that was happening and kind of be like the eyes and ears for the audience at home. We didn't say much, but I think you were there that day.
I was there that day.
We talked about this, and I'll never forget when Brooks Robinson walked out of the dugout the first time. Just the entire stadium was stone silent, other than the music that they were playing from the Field of Dreams. And the Super Bowls I've been to, the playoffs from the Orioles, first Ravens game here, last Colts game, nothing has ever compared to that. It's been tremendous.
What if you change your career tomorrow? What would you do?
Teach, without a doubt. I had a chance to teach some classes the last 4 or 5 years at Towson University. Haven't been able to do it so much the last couple of years because of the time restraints with the Ravens and everything, but without a doubt.
And what would you coach?
Well, when I was going to college, I went back to my old high school and I coached basketball and baseball, and they were the two sports I really played a lot of in high school and college. So probably this day and age, if I'm allowed to, if somebody would ask me, I'm sure it would be those two.
Okay.
I'm still not. My X's and O's in lacrosse are still take a back seat to the other one.
It's just like hoops, no problem. Keith, it's a pleasure to have
Randy,
you
my
here. I
pleasure.
appreciate your time.
Don't let
And
up on this guy right
I
here.
won't. And thanks for also keeping those high school
my
sports
pleasure.
on the air 7 days a week.
He's a
Eric,
good guy. He's doing a good
good
job.
luck. We're going to miss
Thank
you
you.
next year at Towson, but I know you'll keep things going strong. For High School Sports Scene, I'm Randy Dace. Thanks for watching. See you next time.